So now that we have the sketch for the A-arm, we're going to make the three-dimensional tube version of this, first of all, using method one, which is using a frame assembly. So to start that, we start off with our sketch open, and then we're going to say make a new file, but make this an assembly instead. So there's assembly. We want to select the part that we just created. So we want to select place from the assemble, and we can select this part that we just made and then click somewhere here to leave it in place, hit escape so we only make one copy. At this point, we go over to design and start inserting our frame elements. It'll ask us if we want to save, and we do want to give it the same file name that we had for the part, but it's going to be, this time for the assembly, it's going to be AIM for the file extension, which means we'll have to upload both parts when we finish up this part. We'll have to have the part file as well as the assembly. So what we want to do is from the category, we want to select round tubes, ANSI, ANSI ASTM pipe, and then select the size that has a 1-inch diameter and a 0.133 wall thickness. Now for the SAE Baja, it really needs to be 0.12, but this was already loaded into our database with mild steel, so we'll stick with that. We want to select the line that needs to have that tube along there and select each one carefully until you've completely made the part. You got to do these out here at the end a little careful. Got to go out to the end. If you try to do this one, it'll make a pipe in between the two. So let's go out to the end instead. And let's see, we got one more. So we'll have to orbit over here and see this tiny one right there. So if we click OK, it's going to ask us a couple of questions. Let's say OK to those things. So now we have a nice shiny part that we want to save. So it's processing that. There's the part. And if we want to hide the dimensions, we could go back over to the original part right there, and then right click in the feature tree and select dimension visibility unchecked. And I guess we could leave the sketches in there as well, or we can make them invisible also. The only problem with that is when you come back to the sketch, you won't be able to see anything at all over here, especially if you hit save at this point. You'll just have to remember to make this visible again. So you can see it's invisible from this point of view. Now, the issue here is that this is not realistic because we don't really want this pipe to come through the other pipe. There's going to be an axis that goes through here, so this is in the way. So we're going to use the notch tool to fix that. And notching basically says select one of the frame members, this pipe, and use the other frame member as your notching tool. So our notching tool is really a milling machine bit that we push up against the tube to make it arc like a saddle like this. So when you click OK, you can see that it took that out. Now you can also right click on this right here, and I think maybe turn off visibility. Oops, I didn't want to do that for the whole thing. I just really wanted to do it for that one part. Let's see if I can do that in visibility. Okay, so now you can see what it means by notch. So now we have notched that tube. We normally do that with a lathe, and then we weld on this piece afterwards. Doing the same thing, notching with this next piece. We're going to go, let's see, where is the notching tool at? Okay, it needs to be under, oh yeah, it's under design. And then we need to go here. We're going to take this piece and use this outside edge as the notch. Notice I clicked it too soon though, because I really need to select this one, then click here and then use this for my notch. Then click OK. We're going to do that again over here for this other side. And there's a built-in flaw that you might actually be able to see. So there's the top view. Well, where'd it go? Oh, kind of moved around after I clicked on it. Okay, so let's look at the top view, or maybe this view. And you can see a little bit of a defect right here. This pipe right here really needs to come into that point, but it's not really doing that properly. So that's the cool thing about creating a three-dimensional design is you start to see defects. And so what you do to fix that is go back over to your part, and then you have to make it visible again. Or you could just say edit probably. And this is the one that needs to be longer. So let's make this one 2.5 and see if that fixed our flaw. Make sure you save it over here. It's going to ask, do you want to roll those changes forward to the other part? You got to give it a minute, or you might actually double click on it to get it to resize, and then you can just say return. So now this looks a little bit better. Ideally, we want this to be shorter over here. I guess we could trim some of that off, but we certainly don't want those things in there. So let's use our notch tool. We want this to be notched by this one right here. Again, I clicked to the wrong thing, so X out of there. We want this one. Oh, and that one to be notched by this one. And let's see if that did what we wanted it to do. And sure enough, we're good. So like I said, we really want this pipe right here to really be 1.5 inches. So we'd have to cut some more of it off. But for now, we're going to go ahead and stick with this design. Or if you want to go ahead and make it more realistic, like the actual Baja vehicle is, you can select this surface right here, see if we can select a plane on which to cut that. So you could do that and bring it down a little bit more to make it more realistic. But we'll stop right there, save this assembly file, and you do want to upload 2 files. One of them is going to be the IAM file, which is this file. The other one is going to be this part file. So you'll need to have both of these in order to be able to get credit for this one. Let's get the dimensions back on. And you can see that probably these are going to be rolling over there. So it's okay to leave it like that. All right, so that's a good version. And this is only method 1 if you like to use this frame assembly method. In the next video, I'll talk about the sweep method.